welcome to the Born Unbreakable Podcast. I am your co-host, Coach Des. If you paid attention to the last episode, the special announcement was that I now have a co-host that will shortly introduce himself. It is Mr. DJFNA himself.
I'm here.
He is here.
Out from the shadows.
In the flesh.
Yes.
And I wanted to say, before I turn it over to DJFNA, why this was so important to me. If you started the podcast journey with me, I started back in 2019 where I actually had a co-host. It was a different podcast called Bliss Beyond Fear. And it was a great experience. I learned a ton from it. Then I launched this solo podcast, Born Unbreakable. My message to people is to be unapologetically you, but I needed to level up. Mm-hmm. That was really my objective, my goal. Now that there's a base of people that tune in and are ready to better themselves, it was really the question of how do we take this to the next level? Yeah. And the way to do that was to make sure that we had a broad perspective. And I've now worked with DJFNA for over 3 years and can attest.
It's been that long.
It's been that long.
Feels like it's been 6 months.
I know.
Yeah, it's gone by so fast.
It's gone by so fast, but what I've learned is that when you're choosing the right person to collaborate with, to build business with, it's important for you to have a yin and a yang and be very intentional of having somebody who you can be yourself with, accentuate your own strengths, but also learn from. And one of the things that I've learned from DJFNA, Aaron, is that we have the opposite skill sets where I lack, he has many talents, and that's why we make such a great team. And I have the utmost respect for him and everything that he's done in the entertainment industry. For my podcast, you know, he's been behind the scenes, as he's mentioned. He's been my sound engineer, my podcast manager. We've done business together in a number of ways that we'll continue to share with you as time goes on. But it's been a blessing to really have a partnership with somebody who I can trust. And it helps that he's funny. It helps that he's funny because he makes sure that we're having fun and we don't take things too seriously. So on this episode, this is about getting to know us and why we are changing the format and really, as I see it, up-leveling this show. So I want to give Aaron a chance to introduce himself so you can learn about his background and why he's joining forces with me.
So everything you just heard Desiree say is all propaganda, which we'll be talking about a lot on this show. You know what I mean? Appreciate it. Thank you very much. For me, I've always been, I've loved behind the scenes. You know, I love the, coordinating stuff, controlling stuff. And, I feel like, I'm my best when I'm in control. So when it comes to stuff like this. But now, coming out of the shadows and stepping on in front of the camera is, it's not weird being a DJ. I'm always on stage, so that's really nice. I did start a podcast before the pandemic, and this was kind of like an experiment because I was seeing that podcasting was like growing, mm-hmm. and me just being a tech person, I just wanted to see, could I do a multi-camera, multi-view, and it was crazy because now we definitely invested in equipment. So if you see all this, and we'll take a picture and share it with you guys, but it's like a whole spaceship right now.
It's like a switchboard.
So I'm pretty much, controlling the whole show from here. So I get to still do behind the scenes, but, kind of like a Howard Stern, he controls everything,
Exactly.
But it's really cool. When I was doing that podcast for myself, I was able to learn. So it was good. But right when the pandemic happened, I couldn't have any guests. And then Zoom wasn't really like a thing yet. You know what I mean? So, it was just like, but it was good because I learned a lot. And I'm glad I did because now I can use all that, all the trial and error stuff that I did to, when you went off and did your own thing,
right.
We were able to put everything together really fast. And now being able to do this, it's been really fun to figure this out, to how to record everything, how to do. Because for those of you out there that want to do a podcast or interested in how podcasts work, you know, a lot of people will do the microphone and just record audio. So we're doing video, we're doing audio, we're doing everything. And in order to do this, you either need a whole team of people or you need to have the right equipment. So this has been really fun to be able to do a multi-camera, you know, audio, video, you know, I can put stuff like, you know, which I've already forgotten. This is my name and Instagram right here, you know, and then I can go over to Des over here and go, oh, this is Dez's Instagram and name.
There you go.
Yeah. So we're pretty high tech here right now. We're leveling up, you know, we made a move like San Francisco.
Yep.
Got rid of Trey Lance.
Oh man. Yeah. That was a thing.
So yeah, I mean, for me, this is really good because I think a lot off camera or when you're not doing the podcast.
Yeah.
We have a lot of conversations, whether it be relationships, politics, pop culture, you know, just stuff that's going on in the news, growth, business. We have a lot of conversations, and it's one of those things where we're like, we should be talking about this because a lot of stuff that we talk about, we feel that can help a lot of people. So, you know, when you have somebody that you work with and you have a lot of good ideas, and then also a lot of things I think for us is perspective. So having a guy and a girl, having two different cultures, having two different views on stuff, having also industries, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's where this all started, right? Because we brought our two industries together as we collaborated on a number of things. And I come from the corporate space.
Yeah.
Almost 18 years. I've been doing consulting. I've been doing coaching. And that's the world I live in with healthcare, with self-development. And you live in the entertainment industry, which is a lot different.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to succeed if it wasn't for a little bit of a corporate background. You know what I mean? So I think for me, one thing that I noticed being a part of the entertainment industry, those who become successful are ones that either have those kind of corporate people behind them, behind the scenes, or they have that mindset. You know, you wonder like, you know, how do some people get into the music industry or the movie industry or anything like that? It's because they have the right people, you know, or the right mindset. They have, they're business savvy. So, but yeah, and now this is a whole new format. So new home, you know, those of you guys that were watching Desiree's podcast for the last, 150 episodes has been
over 150
has been in your office.
Yeah.
At home. Now we, you know, we're here at our property where we do events at, you know, now we're shooting here. So we get to, make it a little homey vibe.
We get to actually use our space.
Yeah. And this is cool. It's a good space. I like it. It's a little homey, you know?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a decorator. So,
But we have a plant.
Yeah. So we got some plants for you guys. You know, we got a nice fireplace behind Desiree to have that warm feel, you know? For me, I don't know, so close up. So yeah, I mean, this has been great. This whole format. Now, your podcast has been more
interview based.
Yeah, interview based. You know, self-development, personal growth, all that. But we're kind of going on a whole new direction.
Right.
I think maybe trying to appeal to a broader audience.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to help. I think because when we're talking about this, like why are we reformatting? Why are we bringing you know, I think this is a good opportunity to help, because I think right now at this time, you know, where the world's at, my biggest thing is there's a lot. I mean, and from those of you out there that are like, okay, another podcast. Everybody's doing a podcast. Everybody's an influencer. Everybody's doing all this. But I think for me, one of the biggest things was, you know, you have that thing like, well, everybody has a podcast. It's just oversaturated. But I think for me, there's too much information out there. I think my biggest goal right now is to try to help people decipher information.
Yeah,
you know?
I alluded to this in a previous episode that we are in an an oversaturated market because there are so many streams of information, right? Long ago, you turned on the TV and you had 12 stations or something. And so that's where you would get your information. Maybe there's still people who are old school who read the newspaper. You got your Wall Street Journal or something
and
like that.
TV was shut off at night.
Right. And so today there are countless ways that people get information from, some of the traditional formats like TV, the evening news, the morning news, there's talk shows, there's still those paper formats, but now there's so many electronic ones, and social media has just bombarded our telephones from, Instagram to Facebook and all of the other social media platforms. And so in some ways, I have made the point that people have become apathetic because they're like, it's just too much. I don't even want to vote because it's too overwhelming for me. And so one of the things that I'm noticing is that I loved what I did when I would be able to interview an expert on a subject matter. But I want us to be able to thoughtfully keep up with current events. And I think having this format of a co-host allows us to tap into what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. Whether it's something that we see that is a trend in the news, it could be somewhat controversial, it could be lighthearted, it doesn't always have to be super serious, but I want us to be able to capture where we are today in modern times with a very divisive, if we're being honest, political backdrop, and be able to have meaningful conversations that provide people with sources that are accurate, that enable them to make decisions and decipher information in ways that allow them to be able to go talk to their friends and family and not have ignorance when it comes to things that are so important in this world. So I want to be able to do that, and we will at the right times invite guests and experts. So you'll almost have more of a hybrid format where Aaron and I will pick things that we think are going to be valuable to you and also bring in experts where we think it makes sense.
Yeah, because I think, now looking at it, if you look at media, news, even talk shows and stuff, a lot of people just turned on the TV. They got their news and information from TV. Now it's turned into, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of I feel like the mainstream media has gotten a lot of it's been discredited. A lot of people don't trust it now. It's a lot of propaganda. There's certain stories that are covered, not covered, and whether you're left, right, gay, straight, religious, whatever background you have, everybody's kind of now takes news as with a grain of salt. Now everybody's questioning, and it's always been good to question, to ask questions. But the problem is that the people that are turning away from sources, whether it be mainstream media, are going to other sources that are way worse. You know what I mean?
They're not credible.
Yeah. And not just politics, but let's just say, relationships right now. You have someone like Andrew Tate going online and giving his, spiel on what men and women roles should be, and putting a lot of information. And for some people, there are some people that look at that and go, oh, I totally agree with that. But then there's some people that go oh man, what is he, he's not giving the right message. He's putting things in people's heads that are giving them, a false sense of reality.
Right.
So I think it's good. I mean, for me, my biggest thing has been throughout this past, several years is you're going to hear a story. Now try to figure out what is real and what is not real, and obviously if you are educated, if you understand history, understand basic principles and stuff, you can kind of see where people are. There's an opinion, they're maybe pushing an agenda. Maybe it's, they have they're trying to have a different motive. They're trying to get more, they're trying to push an agenda. So you can start seeing that. But for a lot of people, even younger people, you go on social media, you're getting all this information, and then unfortunately, some younger people are getting bad information from their own parents, that are informed. So now you have this cycle of, a lot of people getting bad information and either getting in trouble or voting against themselves or not growing as a person, So I think that's my biggest goal for us is to talk about issues that are maybe uncomfortable, that are current, have a different perspective. And I think perspective is going to be the biggest key in anything, whether it's relationship, politics, whatever it is. If somebody has an opposing view or disagrees with you, well, why? Not necessarily are all things that people just, now, if somebody has like a view and they're just a total like racist person and just doesn't like a different race, then okay. But even in that situation, what was their background? Why do they feel like that? Because I think if you look at, somebody who maybe grew up in a town, who experienced certain things, or maybe grew up a certain way, then you go, okay, well, this is their background. This is their experience. This is why they feel so passionate. Or maybe they are, they don't like a certain race or a certain type of people. Then you can kind of look at that and say, okay, well, let's have the conversation with that person and say, well, why? What do you feel? And then when you do, maybe you can help them through that. You can find like, okay, well, I'm sorry that you had that experience or you grew up that way, but let me show you a different side. You know what I mean? Like people who may have a bad experience with a race. And because that bad experience, it pushed them over the edge and now they have a view, but then you show them, hey, well, that's not all people, or that's not all, and then same thing with relationships. You may have some guys that are just, women now are just, gold diggers and, they're just, there's this whole feminist movement and everybody, they want equality but then they still want a man to like, do stuff for them. It's a lot. I think the main thing is trying to understand why people feel the way they feel. And then that'll create a healthier debate.
Right.
Probably for like a lot of stuff, And I mean, let's just keep it real. Sound bites are our biggest thing. Clickbait is a big thing too. You know what I mean? If you want to move the needle and become famous, like someone like Candace Owens or Alex Jones, you say something's totally outrageous, it's going to get picked up by mainstream media. It's going to go viral, and you're going to, whether you're getting publicity with good or bad, you're going to get the views, Right. So I think a lot of people, unfortunately, say a lot of crazy stuff that they don't believe, but they know it's going to be clickbait.
Yeah.
So, for us, I think we definitely want to help people when they get information or have an issue. They just have a different perspective, you know what I mean? And then and provide you with facts, with sources. That's a big thing. And when you're a person who is giving out information, you know what I mean? Like a news source. And unfortunately, the news is not like that no more. There's no, you go back to Walter Cronkite, which I'm pretty sure if you're under 40, you don't have no idea who Walter Cronkite is. But, back then it was just such a, the news was just, you're giving the information as it comes through. There was a responsibility. There was integrity. Now with that, there's not a lot of that. I think now I want to try to get back to that, and we will share our opinions and our experiences
Absolutely.
To help people. And if we're ever wrong, and if we ever get something wrong, I promise you, we will fix that. You know what I mean? We definitely want to fact check ourselves. You know what I mean? When we're doing, when we're taking that responsibility of trying to give people the right information, not to influence people, but to say, hey, because I think if we were to, let's say we were talking about relationships, people that are in relationships in a metropolitan city is going to be a lot different than like a farm town.
Right.
You may have a more conservative view. You may have more people who are religious, whereas you have more progressive people, in a metropolitan area,
right,
who may see relationships totally different, So I think, I think that's one of the biggest things is to say, okay, well, this is a situation where you have a man and you have a couple, that has a problem. This is their problem. This is their background. This is how they're going to deal with it. You know what I mean? And it can be totally different for somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think for me, this is a great challenge, and I'm so happy we're doing this, because I want to try to look at every issue and give perspective, and try to, in a world, in a country that's very divisive, I'm pretty sure, there is hope there. There is hope. And, because, and I'll say this, I'm going to be very honest. The last, I'm going to say, and everybody will know where I'm going with this, when 2016 happened.
Yeah.
That was a break in history. That was a turning point, for our country. I was very angry for a couple years. I was very angry on the ignorance, and the contradiction that I was seeing. But now I think you kind of take a step back and go, okay, like, we're all Americans. We're all living here. Everybody has, there's a lot of common ground, you know what I mean? But I think there's okay, let's just try to understand people, And then same thing with relationships too. You look at relationships and the way people grow, themselves, whether self-development or in their business or whatever they want to do. And, you want to figure out, why do people make certain decisions? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like in a relationship, if you come from if you're a person who's very a monogamous conservative person, and you're trying to date somebody who's very free spirited, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to try to look at that situation and try to give a perspective, and maybe the right advice. I know when I talk to you a lot when it comes to coaching, you're not a therapist,
right?
You're just trying to give somebody guidance to make a better decision and grow. You know what I mean? From what you do for a living, you're going into companies and trying to help them understand, why there's inclusion, or why there's a policy, or why there's different things, and having people work better together.
Well, I think a lot of the heart of what you're talking about, because there's other categories we can bring into the fold too, like finance is a huge one. There's huge financial disparities in this country where, we have the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor. Why is that? And what are all the decisions that people made to get there? The objective is providing people with more insights, more tools, more things to fill up your arsenal so you can be informed to create more opportunities for yourself. And that's where we see a lot of the hang up when we're out there having conversations with people on these different subject matters, is this notion of there's only one way to look at something. Mm-hmm. Or a limited way to look at something. And it's when we can open the aperture, not to try and convince you to believe differently, but to help you see that there are more than one way to look at something. There's more than one way to actually get even to the same outcome. But you have to have enough open-mindedness to hear something out and to have self-awareness of the different routes that you can go. To have that innovative, spirit, because we're in a time where those kinds of behaviors, where there's only one way to do something, is not getting us any further. And that's what gets exacerbated when we turn on the news and listen to things, is because people are so dead set on one way to do something or one way to believe that it creates so many cracks in our foundation. And that's why we can't get to a place of being in harmony or being in unity with one another. And we believe that you can find common ground, even if you're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And one of the things that we'll do too is share examples with you. Yeah. Because we have a lot of friends who actually do believe differently than we do, but we have great friendships. We have great conversations, even though the way that we choose to live our lives is completely different.
Yeah, and it's been really great to look at things a different way and say, because I think it's very easy when you disagree with somebody to get angry right away. I think as humans, we are, okay, you're on one side, you're an enemy now. It's confrontation. It's so much easier just to have a confrontation, and say, oh, well, this person doesn't agree with me. They're stupid. I'm going to kick their ass.
Right.
Whereas it's a lot harder to go, okay, this person just totally insulted my whole background. Let me try to have a conversation with them and ask why. It's really hard. People who are religious, it's like, turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? Don't engage with people. But it's really hard. Even for religious people.
Oh yeah.
So, but when you're able to do that and open up a dialogue, and I like seeing this because I know Bill Burr has been doing this. Patrick on the PBD podcast, they're bringing other people. It was really good to see Bill Burr and see like what's that guy? What's his name? The singer. Total brain fart. Kid Rock.
Oh, Kid Rock.
Kid Rock. I was thinking Kid Rock and Bill Burr sitting down and just having a conversation. And yeah, they did their opposing views. You know what I mean? Jank from the TYT and PBD podcast, Patrick, they sat down and have a good conversation.
That was good.
And I'm glad to see that because I think people are going, okay, look, we're all in the same country. We're all on the same team. You know what I mean? There is differences, but we can. It's way more effective when you work them out.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we talk about information technology. Technology now is moving so much faster where people can comprehend. Yeah. So there is not a class right now in high school or in grade school that talks about social media. You know what I mean? There's not a communications course where people they give history on the news and how to decipher it. There's nothing like that. So and then you have a generation where even parents don't even know how to explain that to their kids.
And some parents aren't even on social media.
Yeah. So you have technology that's moving faster that people can't catch up. So I believe we're just in this time right now where there's so much happening. There's so much information where it's just becoming detrimental to people's mental health. The way they view things. I think now you have more people that have anxiety because you wake up, you go on your phone, and you're gonna see just a lot of what's happening in the world right away from when you wake up. Then throughout the day, you're gonna see something on social media that somebody that maybe you are friends with or family members or people in your community, acquaintances going, oh, they just got married. Oh, they just got a promotion. Oh, they're on vacation. Then you start comparing yourself.
That's all this comparison. Well, and that's why there's another movement that's happening right now, which is about cleansing from social media and mental health, that actually people are promoting programs where you, for the first hour of your morning, do not look at your phone. You actually plug it away from your bed. You wake up and you have a cup of tea and meditate and, do these other things, because that's the point. It's so much in your face that there's actually deprogramming that experts are trying to do.
I know more people who go on ayahuasca journeys than they do therapy.
Yeah.
And and I think, and that's good that people are finding ways, but it's crazy because you're starting to see that after the pandemic, after social media, after just so much that humans in the world have gone through in such little time, there are things that are happening. Like you said, people are now doing, following things like, I just need to put the phone down. Yeah. There's a lot of people that say, I deleted social media because it was just too crazy, They'll
go on a retreat for the weekend,
but unfortunately,
and unplug.
You see, unfortunately, every week or every month, you look on the news and there's a mass shooting, that's where somebody, and most of the time you're going to see, when they investigate, it's somebody that was online getting a lot of bad information and they just snapped.
Join some sort of cult.
Yeah.
Some community they found online that made them feel a part of something.
Yeah. And I think that there's another dangerous part is how do you, there's nobody policing that. It's just, for parents, you're going, okay, well, they're on social media, whatever, you know what I mean? But, take the time to go through your kids' computers and cell phones. You'd be very surprised. And it's hard because there's a lot of parents that don't want to pry into their kids' privacy. There's a lot of people that would think the opposite, like, hell no, my kids do not have privacy until they're 18.
Right.
So, and again, you don't want to criticize how people parent, but there's going to be a spectrum of how people parent. And unfortunately, we have a spectrum where too much information and social media can be very bad, where it'll lead to a mass shooting,
right,
or somebody killing themselves. So whereas, on the other side, the good side is, you are getting other views and there's other sources or people are getting information, now you're able to, every time there's something that's happening to a certain group, you can start a movement, you can assemble,
right,
you can, spread the word, you can get people active, when you look at, 2008, I think that was like the first time a president, when Obama used social media, it was very effective. Nowadays, with the use of phones, it's very hard to commit a crime now because everybody has a phone, and in a world where we rely on the justice system, evidence is a big thing.
Oh yeah.
And think about for example, when you see all these people that have been exonerated because of DNA. When they didn't have that back then, it was just basically somebody's word.
Yeah.
So, there's some good stuff, but, I definitely want to commit to helping people, decide from information. How do you, exercise your brain? How do you exercise your life? How do you, as a parent, things to do, you know what I mean? And then, I think that, humans are becoming more progressive because of the information,
Well, and I guess one of the biggest messages that I have, and I'm a proponent of this, and you hear me say this at the end of the podcast episodes that I've done for years, is about action. Because one thing that each of us have is personal responsibility. We're each personally responsible for how we show up every day. And the only way that we can show up in a way that is going to be productive is by being thoughtful, seeking to understand even the things, and especially the things that don't make sense to us. Because if you're only concentrating on the things that do make sense to you, you're ostracizing a whole nother viewpoint. And it's almost like, do more to understand that. And then have conversations with people that have opposing viewpoints so you can figure out there is a common ground somehow, some way, because that is your ability to control what's going on is that simple. And, people think like, oh, well, you have to go out there and become a political activist, or you have to go out there and do these big monumental things. And I think what we miss the opportunity to do is these small incremental things that makes a difference in our household, with your children, with your parents, with your peers. And if we can all start there with some basic tools and principles, then the world, I think, can get to a place where it's better and more informed.
So starting this podcast, I want to really, commit and give a promise to you listeners and viewers that, we always want to make sure that we are respecting people's views, giving you guys the right information, and fact checking ourselves, because we want people to grow. We want people to understand, other views, just like I have, just like we have. We talk about this all the time. And, I understand there's clickbait out there. There's people that are just giving outrageous stuff to get views, to get, stuff like that. So, we just can just help a couple people, that's good. And yeah, if I know there's a lot of people that just, it's interesting because a lot of the very popular podcasts, unfortunately, some of them have a lot of propaganda, So, we don't want to do that here.
Yeah.
You know?
We want to do our best to provide you with information that can help you decipher your thoughts. Like we said, being unapologetically you means we are going to be us, but we want you to be you. And that could mean that we agree sometimes, we disagree, we find common ground, but we want to have those ground rules of respect, open-mindedness, listening with the intent to understand and not just respond. Those are the kinds of principles that we want to ground ourselves in here on the show. And so having said that, I want to introduce to you the next topic that we'll be talking about in the next episode. So,
oh my gosh, I get so.
what is that, Aaron?
Yeah. Now, so here's the thing. I understand that people are very passionate when they believe in something, you know, and this is why, you know, social media, news outlets, you just see a lot of passion, and that drives people, that moves people. It strikes a chord, it moves the needle, you know, it creates controversy, it makes millions of dollars, you know. So I understand the passion, and this is why, you know, I'm pretty sure you'll see me be very passionate about certain things. And the first topic that we're going to be talking about in the next episode is DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Now, we're talking about this for a few reasons. One, Desiree is what she does for a living. You are a consultant. You go into other companies, huge companies around the country, around the globe, and you teach them about diversity, equity, inclusion. You know, we're going to talk about what that is. Now, the fact that Desiree is an expert on this, I know somebody who is an expert. I hear about this all the time. So when I hear in the news somebody like, you know, Ron DeSantis and other people talk about DEI and using it to weaponize, to push an agenda, to fearmonger people, it pisses me off, because this is the example of why we're doing this, because somebody is using, just like what they did about CRT. You know,
race theory.
Now you have a bunch of teachers who left schools, who don't want to be a part of that, that don't want to be a part of CRT is bad and all this stuff, because they got that and they used it to fearmonger, to push an agenda, to scare people. And now those teachers don't want to teach there anymore, because first of all, they don't teach that in grade school. That's not a thing. But again, you weaponize it. You put an acronym. This whole thing about CRT. You push it, and now all you did was just hurt the kids that go to school. Now you just turned off and made a bunch of good teachers leave those schools. Mm-hmm. So now it's happening again, and because I know a lot about it, and you're an expert on this, you know, we're seeing a case of people using information in a bad way to push an agenda, to fearmonger people. So we're going to talk about what diverse equity inclusion is, what DEI is, how it's been used for many years. This is not something that just popped up from this administration. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not. So I'm so excited to be talking about this and having you as an expert talk about this, so that when people hear what diversity, equity, inclusion is, and hear it on the campaign and hearing these people talk about it, now you know what it is, and now you recognize how it's being used to push an agenda, to push a false narrative, mm-hmm. to fearmonger, you know?
And we want to be able to bring these issues to the table because we recognize what's coming up, right? Election season and all of that. So there's going to be a lot of things like education and immigration and DEI and a lot of what they would call buzzwords. So we can decompose, we can break that down to its basic format and not in the political landscape, so it doesn't get caught up in all of the minutia, that is used in a way that is negative. And so it now more than ever, it's important for you to listen to our podcast because of all the things that will be coming with the political landscape in front of us.
And I will say this, okay? We do understand because, again, we're not, I want to make sure that, this is just like how people saw the news back in the 60s and 70s. There was no right-wing media. There wasn't left-wing media. There wasn't progressive media. It was just the news. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I really want to get back to that because here's the thing. I understand. I mean, I've been a lifelong Republican. You know what I mean? I understand that there are people out there that, if you listen to certain policies or understand what, so for example, if you are voting in your local elections, in your state elections, and even the national election, you want to make sure that whoever you're voting for is going to make sure that they put in policies that you align with, that you agree with. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, a lot of people vote against themselves, all because you fall for some little buzzword and now you think, and now all of a sudden you're voting against yourself.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that, we're not pushing aside. It's just being able to say, okay, on this topic, what are the facts? How does it affect people nationally? How does it affect people in metropolitans in areas as opposed to rural areas, heavily Democratic areas as opposed to very, Republican areas, very progressive areas and very conservative areas. You know what I mean? So there's not a problem being a conservative, a progressive, a liberal, you know what I mean? That's not a problem. I just want to make sure that you get the right information so that you can vote properly. You know what I mean? For me, even though I've been a lifelong Republican, I've pretty much voted on what the country needs. I mean, I'm really big on history, love government, doing all that. So, but at the same time, there has been certain times where we've needed a certain policy change. What's going to be better for the country? How is it going to improve as a whole? And it's okay. I mean, if you're a person who's it's okay to be selfish and be real and say, you know what? I own a multi-million-dollar company, and if I get this president or somebody in office, I'm going to pay less taxes. Okay. If that's all you care about, at least and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We live in a free country where you are allowed to be selfish and say, you know what? I don't give a shit about, Social Security and all that crap. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure that I don't have to pay as much taxes at the end of the year. I can care less about gun safety and all that stuff. I just care about my bottom line. That's fine. You know what I mean? But let's just say you were a capitalistic person and you own a business and you find out that, oh man, you know what? The guy that I was voting for wasn't actually helping me. It's actually hurting my business. We want to give you that right information, at least that, Mm-hmm. So, that's my whole thing on this diversity, equity, inclusion thing is we want to give people the right information. You have an expert right here, sitting right here, who knows about this, who's going to explain it to you so that when you hear this propaganda on TV, most of it, if not all of it, is BS, mm-hmm. So that you can, and again, let's just say if you're a DeSantis person, you can say, okay, well, you know what, I'm not going to listen to that. What are your other policies? Because maybe he may have a policy that you do like, and that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But again, we just want to give people the right information when it comes to stuff like this, like CRT and diversity, equity, inclusion, and, and the LGBTQ IA plus, what they stand for, what's going on, and again, it's not all going to be politics. There's going to be a lot of, misconceptions that people have when it comes to dating,
Yeah. Like we said, I mean, it could be health, it could be wealth, relationships, pop culture. Yeah. Our goal is to cover the topics that are hot, that mm-hmm. are in debate in households, in collegially with your coworkers, or maybe amongst friends, so you can be more intelligible when you're having conversations and have. It's okay if you disagree. You can agree to disagree, but like I said, this is a time more than ever you should be having educated conversations. And if there's something you want us to be talking about, reach out.
Yeah.
You can just drop into our DM on Instagram. It's at Born Unbreakable. And Aaron is also our guru behind our website, bornunbreakable.com. So, as he continues to make updates there to ways you can connect and feed us information, we'll put that into the show notes so you can reach out to us. But we want this to be a very interactive experience for our audience. We're not just like, hey, we're going to click a microphone and start talking without having you have the opportunity to engage back with us.
And you brought up a really good point about, people being able to have the tough conversations.
Yeah.
Because I want to, one thing that was very effective when I was growing up was when there was a issue or there was a news article or there was something that was going on and it came on the news. My parents would call me, my sisters, hey, they would call us, from where we were playing or doing it and say, sit down and watch this, That was so effective because it wasn't just being lectured by my parents.
Yeah.
If my dad was talking about gangs, well, Dad, you never been in a gang. You know what I mean? And this is why there's a disconnect when sometimes when you're getting information from parents and you're like, well, you don't know about that. You don't know about drugs. You don't know about sex. You don't know about, what do you know about all this stuff? You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes, parents and kids, there's a disconnect. But when that was so effective because when my parents sat us down, we were able to see a story, a real life story of, whether it was like an accident or kids, doing something wrong or gangs or violence or guns or whatever was going on, we got to see for ourselves without them lecturing us and then having a conversation about it. So if anything, most people don't know how to have that conversation, don't know how to start, maybe be afraid, whether it's relationship. Maybe there's a couple out there that they don't know how to tell their spouse and bring up an issue where they go, hey, can we sit down and watch this? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that may help because that will open the dialogue. A lot of times people don't know, they can't find the words. They don't know how to talk to that person.
Right.
So whether it be relationship, politics, news, or pop culture, we want to be that uncomfortable, we want to have those uncomfortable conversations where maybe people can watch, listen to, whether it be with a family member, a spouse, a friend,
Right.
A person that they don't agree with politically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or socially.
And that's why I'm always saying, let's have uncomfortable conversations so we can start to make them comfortable.
Yes.
But that's the reason why we can say, like, after a movie, you can sit and talk about, oh my gosh, like this just happened. I mean, The Sound of Freedom came out and all of a sudden everybody's, talking about child trafficking and, whatever it is. But sometimes it takes a movie, a song, a music video to come out to create the Barbie movie. I mean, there's so many different examples that we could bring up that all of a sudden create a consciousness that you're a heightened level of awareness that that dialogue that begins.
Yeah.
And that's, we want to be the catalyst for healthy dialogue.
And sometimes, Matt, you just got to laugh about certain stuff. And this is why I'm a fan of comedians.
Yeah.
Because, it's really hard. Sometimes I think this is the reason why like Joe Rogan and other comedians get so popular because they're going to talk about something and with something that's just like you don't talk about, but they make it funny. And sometimes you have to see the lighter side in things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's things that are very serious that shouldn't be made fun of, but there are a lot of things that maybe you just kind of need to, have a laugh, see it from a different perspective so that you're not, I think what comedy does is it allows people to laugh about it so you're not offended by it.
Right.
And I think this is why when comedians are just like, man, everybody's offended, you know what I mean? But then now I think comedians are really pushing back and saying, well, I'm just going to just talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. You can cancel me if you want to, whatever, but I'm just going to say it. And now it's kind of having the reverse effect where it is becoming popular to just say what you want to say, because, I think it's more effective. Sometimes you do have to laugh. So
absolutely,
not all seriousness. We will have some fun with certain stuff because
some things lighthearted.
You gotta look at some things and just laugh about it. I mean, I can say for one thing, when people are, making fun of Mexicans, or I'm pretty sure if you're white or black or Jewish or something, you'll hear a joke about whether your religion, your race, your sexual orientation, and you just go, yeah, there's some stereotypes that, that are just laughable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's, you're able to laugh about it. And sometimes comedy actually sometimes educates.
Right.
People.
You can learn about it at the same time.
Yeah. When you sit there and somebody, makes fun of how ridiculous you're being and overreactive you're being, then you kind of go, oh, okay, all right, maybe I am overreacting. You know what I mean? It's all fun and games. So we'll see.
Exactly.
So, yes, that means we're going to make fun of some people.
Yeah.
So that DEI, that's the next episode.
Yep.
Can't wait to talk about it. Can't wait to inform you guys on it.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
So
Before we leave,
yep.
Is there anybody you want to shout out?
I want to shout out our faithfuls.
Yes.
Our faithful listeners. So Maxine, Donna, Monique, Tammy, people that I get text messages from, instant messages from that say, oh my gosh, this episode, or sometimes even phone calls from.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because you've been on the journey with us through all kinds of different subject matter and you're supporting us at every turn. And I know folks are very excited for this format, for us to come together and be able to elevate.
Yes.
So
I like that word.
yeah.
I use it a lot. And of course, we don't, this is going to be on YouTube. We're going to have, we'll be on Spotify, on all the platforms. You'll be able to see us for free.
Yeah.
We are going to, in the future, do some bonus content, do some stuff for, some premium members, but the majority of the stuff we want to do is going to be free.
Yep.
But a lot of you who are fans or really love what we're doing, we don't need the money. I mean, we're not asking for money, but if you support, definitely subscribe, like, that definitely always helps us out, for many of you that don't know the algorithm world, the way it works, YouTube and all that, the more engagement you get, the more that our show will get suggested to other people,
Right.
which
the
means
more eyeballs.
yeah,
there
which
are.
means helping more people. So
That's
yeah.
right.
So, yes, I'm glad that we don't have to charge people to watch it on YouTube or to put it on all the platforms, and that's really great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I would say, a call to action as you're coming in and you're getting into this new format with us is to hit the share button.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things that you can do, whether you're listening to just the audio version, like on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, share that link with a friend, or you could do the YouTube link, whatever format. As long as you're learning something, you're getting something out of our content, you're paying that forward to somebody who maybe you want them to expand their perspective so you can share and have something to talk about. It makes a big difference. I do that all the time with different podcasts, shows, news articles that I listen to. I'm sharing stuff constantly with other people. So that helps.
I guess my shout out for this episode is Desiree, Coach Des. Definitely want to shout you out for taking a chance on me being a co-host. Because I know you probably lost about half of your listeners and followers. So, I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of people like, oh my God, this just got weird. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
So I apologize to all those people that are now unsubscribed and not following Desiree because of me. I apologize. But hopefully I can win you guys back, So if not for me, subscribe, like, and share for Coach Des.
I think they're going to laugh a lot more because you're here. And again, I do think that better content is when you can have more insights, more perspective. And that's really what you're going to get out of this. So you will laugh. Things will probably get weird, but who doesn't like that?
I mean, we'll see in 3 or 6 months. we'll see, because I think the audience is the way they react.
Yeah.
We'll see. They're going to be honest.
We'll see what the comments say.
And I like that, I'm willing to bet right now that a lot of the comments that are negative are going to be towards me. Because who can say anything bad about Des? You know what I mean?
No.
No.
I'm sure there's people.
Have you ever had a bad comment? Like somebody just rip you on social media and say, oh my God, I hate you. You're so little.
You know.
Exactly my point. So, you know, hey, you know, it's okay.
Yeah,
Anybody that has anything negative to say, you can bash me or rip me through the comment section really bad.
He
I
has
like
tough
it.
skin.
Yeah.
If there is anything negative, I'm just going to make you read all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna engage.
You know, I think, you know, for me, people who take the time to comment, oh, Aaron, you're so freaking stupid. I hate you. Fuck your views. You know what I mean? To me, I'm just like, dude, that guy took the time to sit down and write
And be a hater.
and maybe, you know, I love it. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. You know what I mean? You know, I definitely, because that person, I love it because it's just like, remember the movie Straight Outta Compton, where they're on the tour bus,
Yeah,
and they bought their CDs, right? And they were smashing their CDs on the ground and running over them, and Eazy goes, "Hey man, I don't care what they do with those CDs. They they bought those motherfuckers." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, man, I welcome any opposing views. You know, any people that just totally just like what I say. It's fine. It's fine, because you know what? I understand that there's people that have, you know, different views. There are people that are just going to just absolutely hate me, but will tune in every episode.
That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that. So
Yeah.
But that's episode 1 of this new format,
Of this new format.
new Born Unbreakable.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to this. Here we go. This is a new road.
Awesome. Thanks
Yeah.
for tuning in.
We'll see you guys.
See you.